80 years to get this far. I'll implement my socialist plan. Oh no, I did it again, 'cause I'm 18. I get confused every day. 18, I can't quite hear what you say. 18, I gotta get away. Liver spots on my left and right. Arms numb almost every night. I'm in the end now, the end of my life. Healthcare is a human right for me, and I like it. Yes, I like it. Oh, I like it. Love it. Like it. Love it. 80, 80, 80. I'm 80 and I like it.
.com.
That's a reserved sip, just because I figured we needed to, after the intro, clear the palate.
Hey, I don't think so.
No, I just mean it's a little too much. It's hard to compete with Bernie Sanders / Alice Cooper stealing everyone's studio equipment.
And he just can't. He can't keep doing that.
All right. And,
Yes, he can, and he will.
By the way, hello to everyone on Rumble, everyone on YouTube who's here on Rumble. Just say, if I want to make this really clear, if you're watching on YouTube and you say, "Hey, where's the show?" This show never stops. It just may not always be on YouTube.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
So just to be clear, there's
Nature of the
Spotify, there's Apple, there's Rumble, and of course Mug Club, where you get an additional. Yesterday, I think we did a full hour.
Yeah, we did
Oh, yeah, we
quite
did.
a big Mug Club segment.
It's not just like thanks for Patreon. Ding. We actually try and it's an actual extended show.
Some of our funniest stuff.
That's true.
Some of the definitely
get
the most
loose.
YouTube non-friendly stuff. Well, that's
that's
because
true.
you're a raging alcoholic and you hit
is
the
true.
bar.
It's true.
It's all 40s.
He just gets a taste of the turkey, never goes back. So
Wild.
we'll be talking about quite a bit today. We'll be talking about Pete Buttigieg. We'll be talking about the Loudoun County situation with the boy in the skirt. Why? I said yesterday, why is this boy just repeatedly been referred to as a boy in a skirt as
Right.
opposed to transsexual? The T?
You can say whatever you want. We're on Rumble.
That's true. That's right. But honestly, I don't know.
worry
This
about
isn't me censoring myself. I don't know.
Confused.
I guess he's a B who's a T. We'll get into it. And then also I want to get into something that a lot of people haven't, well, no, I haven't seen anyone talk about this, but Biden's housing of urban development plan. I know it's a bit of a flyer. I think it's a really important story that needs to be on your radar because Biden said before that he was coming for the suburbs. President Donald Trump said, you know, they wanted to destroy the suburbs.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is plans to mandate mass transit, plans to effectively allow them to mandate Section 8 project housing, public housing in the middle, smack dab of your suburban neighborhood, and the crime rates that come with it. There is right now a plan to absolutely fundamentally change American society. And the part of American society that is working is generally the rural areas, the suburban areas. The further out you get from the big cities, the more efficiently things are run, the fewer problems, the happier people are, the more content they are in poll after poll after poll, and they want to get you into the big cities. That hasn't worked. People have left big cities in droves, and so now they're saying, all right, we're coming to you. And this is something that not a lot of people have covered because it's buried in some bills, but I cannot tell you how important it is. Before we move on to all of that, Gerald A. is here. How are you, sir?
I'm well, sir. How are you?
I'm doing okay.
Doing okay?
I'm all right. I woke up late this morning. My alarm was going off for 1 hour. That's never happened to me in my life.
Was it
dare
singing you a
you.
lullaby? Was that?
Yeah,
This is
it
a
was.
really terrible setting.
I
for an
shouldn't
alarm.
have my alarm set to Delta sleep waves, I'll tell you
no.
that.
It's not going to work.
Not good.
I should switch it from soothing rainfall alarm.
Alpha.
Yeah.
Change it to alpha wave.
Right, yeah. I should just change it to something like Nancy Pelosi.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
That something like that.
You
don't wanna
Governor
wake up
Whitmer alarm.
startled.
Right. No, I do want to be
Yeah,
startled.
you do. That's how you
No,
wake up.
no, it can actually hurt your if you wake up like as a startle like an old man, you could die. Like you're
The point is,
Hey.
that's the last
There you
time
go.
I use Cat Stevens for my wake-up alarm / Yusuf Islam. And Dave Landau is not here. He's actually going to be at Helium
Helium.
in Philadelphia, November 5th through
Too
6th.
bad for him.
Oh, look at that.
He'll be okay.
Good
still
for him.
making it happen.
Damn Fauci. No one is untouched. So in his place until next week is Pops Crowder. Papa Crowder, how are you?
Good. Happy to be here. That's one of my favorite videos we've ever done. You should set your alarm to wake up with Bernie. 80.
Yes.
Oh,
I should
gosh.
set it up. Yeah.
And we were just talking about this.
I
Biden's
would
worse.
think that I had a heart attack in
Yeah.
my sleep and waked up in hell.
Yeah.
Woke up.
Biden's actually
I'm
worse
sounding
than the
like
lyrics
Al
on that song.
Sharpton today. I thought I
I was
waked
about to
up
say.
at Helium. I'm sorry. I'm going to hit reset and
Yeah.
do this all better.
I done waked up.
All right. What were we saying? So,
No,
James.
the lyrics of the song, Biden, he's doing those things even worse than we
Yeah,
were mocking
Biden
in
is
the
worse
lyrics
than
of the song.
Bernie. Think about this. Biden is what?
And he's
how
80.
old? How old is Biden? 80?
No, I think he's 78.
Is he 78?
Yeah.
We're
Getting
splitting
there.
hairs.
Yeah.
75.
At that point, we're
78.
splitting plugs. And Bernie is 80 something, and Fauci is like, isn't he 85?
I thought he was 80.
Is he
83, I think John told me.
83?
In there, yeah.
Somewhere in there.
Would you in other words,
Hell no.
think about this for a second. If you were, and let's disregard that I just named all old white men,
Right.
Because
Yeah.
that doesn't matter now. So, would you, if you needed anything done, from, hey, could you make me a BLT, to, hey, I need a heart transplant,
Yeah.
would you at all look at a room, just a room that's a general cross-section of the average American populace, right? Let's assume it's an accurate demographic representation.
Okay.
You're in a room. You either need a BLT or a heart transplant. Would you go across the room and say, hold on, 85, 83, 78, you,
Take care of
Here,
it.
the ticket.
and they're in charge of everything?
Yeah. Lead the free world. That guy. He can't put a sentence together, but I like the cut of his jib.
They want to instate the Great Reset, but these guys can't find the button. What? How is a VCR? So, but somehow they still make it work. And we'll be talking about that. We have some clips here, and we have some references as far as people using the term Great Reset on the left and then erasing it. Have you seen this? They've been using it in
did,
2016 and then erasing
Awkward.
it. So a lot of info to get to, and thank God right now we're not on YouTube. I don't think it changes all that much because we provide all of our references.
Yeah.
But we're just not afraid to, for example, quote the CDC on child flu death numbers.
Yeah.
We're not afraid to quote the truth
do it.
here at all.
It's a
to
silly
say
world
that
we live
Taiwan
in.
exists or that the WHO is funded by China. I mean, we've talked about those things. We didn't hit it as hard as we could have.
Right. We didn't hit it as hard as we could have. By the way, if you are born with a cock and balls, you are a man.
Oh, hey.
I feel free.
That's risky.
That's why I wore this shirt today, baby. Piss
free.
off YouTube.
Hold on a second. Wait a second.
What? Huh? What?
Wait, what?
That's a taste of freedom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I have some of that?
No, well, now let's move on to the taste of Doritos. And I have to say that
Oh,
because
Lord.
you would have no clue watching this commercial that it is at all a Doritos commercial. They're really, really trying to not only break into the Mexican market, Doritos, which I don't know. I mean, you guys get offended about Taco Tuesday and some sombreros. What about Americans slathering a nacho chip in ranch and some sort of hydrogenated vegetable filling, and then we want to sell it back to Mexicans? How is that not offensive? Even worse, they're really, really trying to make being openly gay a thing in Mexico. Here's the newest Doritos commercial. Nice, a Pixar budget.
That's right.
Tradition, you know. Yeah. Oh, Doritos. That's it.
Is that those were Doritos?
Yeah, but those are chips.
They're putting Doritos at the grave.
You got to move his thing so they can read it. Yeah.
Sorry.
Tío Alberto, sorpresa. ¿Qué hubo, familia?
Uncle Alberto's
¿Cómo
looking a
están?
little thin.
To be explained.
Oh, now I get it.
The other uncle.
I get it. It's the, the AIDS. They could have added some liver spots.
Oh, that kind of partner. I thought he meant business.
¡Qué milagro! Creí que este iba a estar solo para siempre.
I thought he'd be alone forever. Thank God he has a guy to screw in hell.
A woman of that generation wouldn't tolerate
Yes,
that.
a woman
for
of that
second.
generation. Oh, el sodomito, el miricalo, Doritos.
It's never too late to be who you are.
Yeah, if that commercial were accurate, there would be 15 guys appearing. You'd be like a guy in a leather chain and another guy and another guy. You're like, oh, what's it? Representative Scott Wiener.
Yeah. Umberto, you have so many partners.
Soy miricalo, Doritos. What is that?
Uncle Alberto, why do you have your partner on a leash?
Oh, I thought you were going to be alone forever. Miricalo, el butafaco, Doritos.
Dorito.
What does that have to do with Doritos?
More
Okay, hold on a second.
offensive.
A gay skeleton?
I
A
don't know.
gay skeleton and a Clark Gable mustache is how they sell Doritos?
And she's so happy he's not going to be alone forever.
Yeah.
Aw.
In the crypt.
No,
Not enough skeletons.
He's
to
not
be a
going to
bunch
be
of-
alone forever. Your prayers have been answered. He's going to be in an open marriage forever, or as they call it in the gay community, marriage.
I have a logistical
casket.
question as well.
Yeah.
They are skeletons.
Right.
There's no,
No, they're just thin.
I mean,
They followed Fauci's lead with the AZT.
did they eat the cereal that can contaminate you with AIDS? and
Yes,
infect you?
exactly.
Oh,
the
is that what
cereal
happened?
box,
I
yeah.
have no idea.
No, of course it would have to be an open casket funeral because the guy would be hard as a houndstooth
Can't close the top.
once the other ghost shows up.
Right.
Yeah. El Rock Hudson, ¿dónde está Gomer Pyle, Doritos?
What are they thinking with
Oh,
this? I don't get it.
Yeah, you
The
know
whole
who
concept of
asked that?
machismo is out the window for the culture. I mean, what,
Yeah.
It's not
No, it's not. This is the thing. This is white Americans
Yes.
trying to spread. You know what every single Mexican male and likely female, if you look at poll after poll after poll, this is why they're leaving the left in droves. They said exactly what you said. Every Mexican male watched this, right? They were sitting back with their cerveza, and they went, ¿Qué?
Hijo del.
I don't even know what that means.
Son of a.
Oh,
I'm just not saying the
I
last.
thought it was a gay slur, but they probably also said that.
I could have said the last, but I don't want to swear.
Hijo de puta!
Huh?
Is it puta? I don't know.
Well, yeah.
So
I don't know.
where would they see that, Gerald? During the World Cup or something? Where would they see an ad like that?
Yeah, I mean, maybe during the World Cup.
You're like soccer. That's my only reference there.
No, it's during
Bullfighting or
it's
something?
during
I
the
don't know.
Cartel World
Yeah,
Series.
exactly. I was about to say dodging bullets from the cartel.
Okay,
Ooh,
the turtle
Doritos
races.
Commercial.
It's a 3-point for whoever can kick the head on the turtle shell.
No, don't do it. I've seen the show.
Okay. Here's another thing before we move on to the housing and urban development, because I know that's going to be boring off the bat. It's not going to be boring, but some people are like, why are we talking about this? So these are things that are very topical right now. I guess this has been trending. Amazon announced a documentary on
Yay.
Pete Buttigieg. He was the mayor of what again, Gerald?
South Bend, Indiana.
Well, that
That
documentary.
booming metropolis.
Yes, of course.
Superheroes come from South Bend.
Man on a Wire, right?
Yeah.
When you pull out
And
Notre
you-
Dame,
and-
what's the population?
I mean, it's got to be. I mean, we need to look up the population of South Bend. I was literally there this weekend for the USC game, and I drove. You can see there's a train track. You cross it, you're in South Bend. Now they've improved it.
Yes.
It has gotten a little bit better with government spending all of your money on taxes they steal from you. That's
Yeah.
how that works. But there's not a lot of business.
I remember doing a show there at was it St. Mary's is the
Yeah.
sister thing
Yeah,
and
right across the
sister
road.
school and you talk about I remember the train tracks. There's no wrong side of the tracks. It's all wrong sides.
Yeah.
Of the tracks.
Both sides.
You're on Notre Dame campus or right next to it. Fantastic. Lots of development. If you
Yes.
go beyond that, you might die. I don't know.
So when you go to South Bend, just think of Mayor Pete. He deserves a
did.
documentary.
Yes.
And it's coming out.
But you
Mayor-
guys are all self-governing. You get your own university
Yeah, yeah,
police
yeah.
and everything. It's a,
Well,
it's a
there's-
city
there's
unto itself.
Time out. There's a reason that Notre Dame has its own zip code, fire department,
Yes.
police, like their own. Like they're not South Bend. They're
Mayor
next
Pete
to
has
South
nothing
Bend.
to do with it. Right.
Right. Yeah. Well, you know what? He takes credit. Well, you know what? I'm hoping he takes credit for the shortage here going on and all the transportation
Yeah.
blockages.
Yeah, he really should.
You know what? He was titty feeding for 2 months, so he gets off scot-free. And he needs a lot of Scott towels. I'm a bounty man. All right, coming out next month, Amazon. They just have this teaser trailer, Mayor Pete.
Anything you want to make sure that I ask him? You spent so much of your life hiding.
Just the Amazon symbol seems wrong.
Did you feel like you were able to be your true self on the campaign trail?
He's also a newlywed.
I made Pete promise that we would have fun.
This is the only chance you'll ever get to vote for a Maltese-American left-handed Episcopalian gay war veteran Mayor Millennium.
Oh my!
Well, because that's the American dream, folks.
Yeah, I'm going to skip that.
Yeah. Veteran.
Not going to.
No, you're gonna have to watch.
Of course, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure he was a secretary. Yeah, he was a bombshell Betty in a picture. I put rivets.
We can do it.
So we heard, by the way, the documentary is going to be actually specifically more so focusing on his 2-month paternity leave. We have the poster.
Oh.
So yeah, Amazon's doing a really fantastic job. Yeah.
Really showing you the whole show before.
Wow.
you-
Failure to latch.
That baby is going to be Me Too. How to lose a baby in 10 days.
SIDS.
Toddlers of girlfriends past. I just don't know. There's so many Matthew McConaughey films.
You could do all of them.
He's probably filling the bottles with mud. All right.
Oh.
By the way, you can follow the show, the podcast. Terrible. Pops on Apple, on Android, of course, on Spotify, and for those who are on YouTube, Rumble. We want to have as many of you here on Rumble as possible. Mug Club. It's a live show, Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern.
Yeah.
If you are tuning in to a place. YouTube, and it may happen sometimes, let's say on Rumble, sometimes there are, like yesterday we had some live feed just difficulties because we had to adapt some things. If ever you're going, hey, where's the live show? I guarantee you it's on Mug Club. We're doing it. It just may not be where you're used to watching it.
Yeah.
So we will let you know whenever we are missing a show, if we're on the road. I just want to make that really clear because I don't want to lose touch with you, and we'll be taking your chat later today on Mug Club. Okay, here's another thing. This happened yesterday. We found the clip. Al Franken was on CNN. And he wasn't grabbing the anchor's breasts.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just to be clear, I think it was absolute
about it,
bullcrap.
though.
I don't think Al Franken should have been fired for that.
Right.
And I know we should play by the left's rules. The truth is, if you look at what he did, this was not a fireable offense, and he stepped down. Actually, I believe
He did. Yeah.
And I thought it was bullcrap. Look, if he was voted for by his people, they should have to deal with him.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He should still be there making a fool of
Good
himself.
rule.
So he was on CNN, and we're going to start building a case here. So I want you to watch all of this. This is an admission of the Great Reset. This is where he's talking about specifically costs of goods and gas going up. And he's actually saying that's a good thing. Here he was yesterday, and I was right. 6:15 a.m. Central on CNN. And the numbers, I think, if you go back, were because, and let me tell you why. This isn't bragging about how I remembered it. It rattled me to my core.
Yeah.
When I'm sitting there and I'm listening to, I was in the shower and I have my Bluetooth speaker and I hear Al Franken saying this. I'm going, wait, what? This is where we're saying the same thing. And I've said this before. I think Gavin has talked about this before as well. We're saying the same thing, and we're having different reactions. Where he's saying, yeah, you're going to pay more for gas, but you're going to get free childcare from the government. I don't really think that's a trade-off. I don't really think it's a good trade-off. Why? Because you suck at everything.
And I think that's what rattles you about it is that they're saying it with a straight face, saying this is good. This is the way that we need to progress and reset.
And I was raised, and Pops Kreider knows this, in Quebec, which is it's effectively a socialist province, right? It is a province within Canada, but they've sort of been given this enclave of rights. It's different from the rest of Canada. And I was effectively raised in socialism, right? And not
Similar to the Native Americans, really. Just kind of an area, not a reservation, but reserved for them and their own.
Right.
Their own laws.
The French, when they should have been conquered on the plains of Abraham and said, shut up, bitch, you're speaking English. But for some reason, they're a lot of province. And then in national elections, they're always complaining in Quebec. Like, they have a party in a national election that just wants to separate. Like, why are you here?
All the time.
That's a thing.
We want to run for prime minister. What? We want to separate, man. We don't want to be Canada, but you want to be prime minister of Canada. Really just because to stop the blackface, okay?
Yes, a lot.
We don't tolerate the shoe polish in Quebec, okay? You're going to see about it. So here's Al Franken admitting that gas goods are going to be more expensive, but you'll like it.
I think last time I was here, we talked a little bit about supply chain and inflation, and some of that is hangover from the pandemic. And but you're right, Thanksgiving dinner is going to be more expensive, and gas prices, Americans really care about that. But they also are going to care about, in Europe, on childcare, on the average European country puts $14,000 into each child, supplementing their parents to do child care.
No,
in the United States, it's $500. That's going to save a tremendous amount of money for parents, and it's going to free up parents to go to work.
There you go. Now, you'll pay more for everything, but it'll allow us to, have your children for the entire day. And women, it'll allow you to go to work. This is the assumption, is all women want to go to work.
Right.
We should have joint income households, every couple. That's how it should be. You should pay more for gas. Basically, you will own nothing, and we'll show a clip where it actually says this. You will own nothing, you will rent, and you will be happy because we will provide the bare necessities, and everything else will be out of reach because it will be too expensive. That's good for you.
Right, and that is the kind of reset that I want, what you just said. Thinking that you have to have a two-parent or two-person income for every single family and just let the government raise your kids. No. Your job as a parent is to, I don't know, it's in the title, be a parent.
Yeah.
I understand that some people have to have two incomes. Sometimes.
Of course.
I get that. I'm not saying anything bad about that. But I'm saying that should not be the norm. The government should not be in the business of raising your children. And right now, I'm sorry they are. We've seen the results of it for the last 40, 50 years. I don't know. Do you think it's better now than it was then?
Yeah.
Do you think you have more love in the family now? Do you think you have more people staying together now? Do you think you have less crime now? Do you think you have better outcomes for people's mental health now?
Well, public
I don't think
schools have done wonders for urban communities.
No, but the Democrats knew that.
Yeah, no,
They
they
did it on
absolutely knew
purpose.
that. Look, they have your kids for 8 hours a day from 5 through, I guess, 17, 18 here in the United States.
18
I graduated
typically,
early at 16. I always get that confused.
Well, now they
so they
want
have you
early.
for 8 hours a day, and now they want to have you for an additional,
2-3 years.
2-3 years.
Yeah.
Because trust the government. We would raise your child right and educate them on LGBTQ plus,
Of course.
and the Great Reset, and basically we're going to make sure. Do you think that anyone raising your child is going to be anything other than a mulleted, fat, man-hating whore? I'm sorry. The real hero.
I mean, yes, of course. 3 months off. Hero.
We need a hero here tonight.
Well, hopefully Al Franken will sober up
Gotta be a big
by Thanksgiving.
dyke. Sorry, what'd you say, Darren?
Hopefully he'll sober up by Thanksgiving. That was a
No.
morning show, you said.
Yeah, it was a morning show.
Yeah. We
little
were talking
groggy.
about this, Gerald. The government creates nothing. So the woman that hands over her kids to the government is going to pay for that. Or
Yes.
it's going to be spread out to everybody else, but she's going to pay for that in
No.
so many other areas.
Well, she's not going to pay for that. You are.
And let me
we
give
all
you,
are.
Let me give you some context here. He says gas prices will go up. Well,
Yeah.
they want Europe as the model. I was raised in Quebec. It's if ever you want to visit Europe, but you don't want to, take a long flight, go to Montreal.
Yeah.
Go to Quebec City. It is very similar. My wife, when she went and visited where I was raised for the first time, was very surprised. She said, "Well, you really weren't raised in a typical American environment. Signs are in French.
Yeah.
Giant billboards for strip clubs with neon purple tits." And she's like, "What is this? You were raised with this when you were 12 years old?" And then I found
They
out
don't
where I
have
was.
those in the Bible.
I
Bill?
found out where I was raised was kind of ghetto. Dad, I didn't know. She goes, "This isn't really
You
a
don't
nice
know until you get out.
neighborhood." I'm like, "What do you mean?" As we're driving through St. Hubert and Villemoyne, and after the 9th rat tail, I'm like, "Oh yeah, I guess it is kind of."
Didn't you wonder why your bike used to vanish about every week?
I just thought I thought that was the trade-in program. You get a new bike.
It's the bike fairy.
So I am always very apprehensive, just like people who come from socialist countries.
Yeah.
That's why Cuban Americans are the most consistent Republican voting bloc, aside from Ana Navarro. I used to be a Republican. Okay. Doritos. So, she's Cuban, they're Mexican, I don't care.
Yeah, whatever.
So in the U.S. right now, gas is $3.39 a gallon, which shocks many people because it was in the dollar range
It
for
was
a very long time.
Much lower.
And in the UK, it's $7.44 a gallon.
Oh, yikes.
Oh my gosh.
So more than twice the price. Norway, $8.55 a gallon.
Oh.
Germany, $7.38. France, $7.23 a gallon.
Jeez.
In Quebec, where I was raised, it's at least 2 times what it is here at any given moment. They go by liters. And remember, it was so bad. The gas prices were so high. And people were complaining for so long that they put a pie chart
Oh gosh.
on the pump stations. Darren, Pop Scratter, explain it to people who don't remember.
Yeah, the pie chart really was to say, hey, we're not screwing you. This is where your money's going. Tax was the
Yeah, it
red
showed
and the
where
and
all
a
the
little
money-
sliver was profit.
Yeah, in Quebec. So they made sure that the gas companies, it was Esso and Petro-Canada, I believe, said, look, if you're going to talk about oil barons, talk about big government barons.
Yeah.
They are the reason this gas is so expensive. And you see
love it.
in comparing prices to the United States and Europe and Quebec. Okay, let's compare the highest income tax rates. Let's look at those marginal tax rates, okay? This is important because he says, no, you'll like it. We'll be the European model. The United States, it's $37,000. That's the highest bracket if you're making over 37% on $500,000 if you're making over $500,000. I love how Biden wants to reduce that to anyone making over, hey, what's your salary? Anyone making over $400,000.
It's a random number.
It's just your exact salary. You picked it by accident. And then the UK is 45%, but you only have to be making $200,000 a year.
Wow.
So you're being taxed half. Germany, 45% at $318,000. France, 45% if you're making $185,000. Where I was raised, I said, make sure I'm correct on this. It actually went up from what I remembered. It is 53% income tax in Quebec for households making $221,000.
That is insane, and that doesn't even.
The households
include...
are individual. I don't know that. I
think it's households.
I think it's households.
Yeah.
Because it used to be 51%, but it was a much, much lower threshold.
Yeah.
53%.
Unbelievable.
And the paltry sum they let you keep now gets taxed.
There's a VAT tax in Quebec.
Yeah,
so you have a VAT tax.
15%.
15% but it's actually worse. 7% tax totaled, and another 7% tax. You're taxed on tax. So let's say, okay, well, look, the rich can pay their fair share in Quebec, my home province, right? This is what Al Sharpton is, Al Franken. I sound like Al Sharpton. This is what Al Franken was praising.
There are other letters.
Scroll,
there, sir.
scroll. I can't read, motherfucker. Scroll. So,
all right,
53% on $221,000 income tax. Okay, and gas prices are twice the price. Costs of goods and services are often twice the price.
Yeah.
People don't understand this. Milk, we purchase them in bags. It's very weird. The reason is so that you don't see how high the price of a gallon is in Quebec.
Wow.
Just want to be clear, it's a much higher cost of living. I remember when I was a kid, we used to go to Plattsburgh, New York, and I would buy Nintendo 64 games.
Yeah.
Why? Because they were $79 or $89 a game in Quebec.
Oh, dude, yeah.
He didn't declare it.
And I did not
No,
declare
of course
it.
not.
I could have done hard time for him in the back seat with his Game Boy.
Yeah,
Super Mario Brothers.
Stuffed them down my pants. And
Hide that
customers were like,
golden eye
hey,
in
what's
your
that
pocket.
in there? It's a chastity belt. You want to mind your own business?
Pedophile.
Like, why do I see an outline of GoldenEye N64? It's a branded belt.
I love the game.
Style.
It's to turn off PlayStation fans. The hell's the difference? Mind your own. So, this is really another argument for the great. This is the Great Reset.
Yeah.
This is what we're talking about. You won't pay for childcare. You won't, but you will through taxes, and everything else will cost more. But you'll be happier that way because we'll have control. And by the way, when we say shut down and issue a curfew, our house, our rules. If you think this is a conspiracy, and I understand this, the term Great Reset, I want to be clear, it's not a cabal of everybody. This is something that's sort of misconstrued when people say globalists. It's not a group of people who get together with eyes wide shut masks, right, and decide how they're going. What it is you're giving an absurd amount of power to bureaucrats who are acting in their own self-interest. And so, of course, they want more control, more power. And the easiest way to achieve that is through taking more from you, right? And globalizing this economy so that now you have more elites versus you who can take control. And that's how they can say, hey, we can control the supply chain. Hey, we can make sure that, for example, we increase the taxes, but it's more government programs. A subservient people are a docile people, just like the beagles that they bred for experiments at the NIH. So here's from the World Economic Forum. Mm-hmm. And I watched this. And I thought, I was like, well, this is negative, right? Yeah. This is a critique.
Surely.
This is a critique of the Great Reset. Yeah. No, they put this out, just to be clear. Hear it straight from the horse's mouth, as an advertisement. They think you're going to watch this and say, that sounds great. Here. You'll own nothing and be happy. Okay? Whatever you want, you'll rent and it'll be delivered by drone. That means no more delivery jobs. The U.S. won't be the world's super leading power. That means China will. A handful of countries will dominate. That's it. They think that's a good thing. Here's the one. You won't die waiting for an organ donor. We'll 3D print one. We won't transplant organs. We'll print new ones instead. You'll own nothing. You'll rent and be happy. So who owns it? Who owns it?
Yeah.
By the way, can we bring this up? Someone in control room. People don't realize the bullshit. This is why I can't stand Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren when people say, well, at least they mean what they say. No, they're full of shit. Remember when we talked about BlackRock, how they're buying up all the property so that Americans cannot afford housing to effectively lock them out of the market? Elizabeth Warren said, we need to deem BlackRock too big to fail.
What?
I forget what they're worth. They're managing something absurd, many trillions in dollars at this point. And Elizabeth Warren,
daily.
Miss Socialist, who says, right, we're fighting for you, says, BlackRock, they're buying up all the houses right now. They're forcing people out into renting. Too big to fail, which means they're guaranteed a bailout. But in this instance, even less so than banks.
Unbelievable.
Are they beholden to the kinds of regulations of too big to fail enterprises? There are some out clauses. No one should be too big to fail. Guess how something gets to be too big to fail? Through big government policies. Let's use banks as an example.
Yeah.
Okay? Let's use, because BlackRock also, part of their investments, we've talked about this, is they buy up a bunch of real estate.
Yeah.
You're a local realtor. You do well. You're a local real estate firm. I don't know the difference between a realtor and a real estate agent, just to be clear. I think they're the same thing. One is a better poster.
They definitely have better posters.
Either way, my ass is on their face at a bus stop.
That's right. They have the logo.
Yes.
You know?
So let's say you're a local real estate agency. Okay, you're doing well. How do you compete with a company that knows it has a never-ending supply of federal bailout funds? So the housing market is no longer a market. You go in, if you're an individual, or even if you are a local firm, you say, okay, we appraise this house, it needs this work, all right, $500,000. And BlackRock comes in, because they don't really care about how much it costs, and if they lose money, they're not the ones footing the bill. They go, $500,000, we'll pay $5 million, and then they rent it to you for the rest of your life, because they have no intention of selling it back to Americans. You will rent everything, and you will be happy. Either the government will own it, or the government will deem their crony capital, they're crony socialists. Let's reappropriate that term.
Yeah.
They're crony socialist corporate overlords too big to fail. It's the same thing.
Right. And if you have any doubt about what we're saying, what happened when we did the lockdown? Did small businesses boom? Did mom and pop shops grow? No. The wealth of extremely large corporation owners grew.
Grew by
Amazon
6 trillion.
Grew. Walmart grew.
Yeah.
All these other tech companies grew. Do you see the people that won in this case? And by the way, this isn't something that we haven't been warning against for a long time. There's a reason that you don't hand over your health care. We said this with Obamacare. Now, you don't have the vaccine? Maybe you don't get the organ transplant. Maybe you don't get that treatment because you're in a category you've made a bad choice. Sorry, we can't help you. Oh, now we have your kids from 2 all the way through college, but then or high school, and then Bernie says we have to fund college after that. So that's another 4 years of indoctrination. So we've got your health care, we've got your kids, we've got your houses. What are you going to do?
And by the way,
now we want your guns.
Yes, and now we want your guns. And by the way, we do have community colleges. They're very affordable.
Yeah.
The thing is, they've been denigrated. They've been insulted by those who are in the elites. Like, well, community college doesn't really mean a whole. You need to go to a university. And what does that assume? That assumes that if you go to university, you will do well. And that assumes what? That the people in working trades are less than someone on a manufacturing line, someone who's a plumber. Nope, none of that is true. And so it removes the choice. Why? Because you're paying through university, through tax dollars. Socialists say, gives us the choice to go to university. No, it doesn't give the rest of us a choice to be in charge of our own destiny. People don't understand this when they say, well, forgiving student debt, it's very, very popular. What about the guy who went to a trade school, became a plumber, started his own business, and God forbid finds himself in a 53% income tax rate like Quebec, who didn't waste his money on a gender studies degree?
Yeah. Or what about the people who just worked their butt off and paid off their student debt?
Right.
You know, they made the calculation and said, yes, this $100,000 over 4 years is worth it. No, this $400,000 so that I could go to Harvard is not worth it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, where's the reparations for those people?
Yeah.
They paid off their debt. I get an offer every week for my house.
Yeah.
Usually under a different banner, but it's probably BlackRock owned.
I wouldn't be
Well, that
surprised.
was me.
I
was
got
just trying to
that
buy
video
the
too.
neighborhood.
What, of Elizabeth Warren?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know it was a video. Okay, because then I have another thing from World Economic Forum. Here's Elizabeth Warren saying, BlackRock, who apparently is coming in and making offers to my dad's house like the Hamburglar. Just putting huh? No, I'm Blackstone. That's the ticket.
I thought you were going to go with another word.
Slate.
Yes.
Ebony Slate.
I'm Slate Pebble. Yes. Slate Pebble Penny Pockets. All right, let's go to the Elizabeth Warren saying BlackRock, this is the champion of you, the socialist, the biggest company, the company that every single person in this country right left agrees has way too much power and is a problem, Elizabeth Warren wants to make sure that they get a never-ending supply of your tax dollars in deeming them too big to fail.
When I started my question with, does potentially a $9 trillion investment company pose some risk to the American economy if it should fail?
Well, one needs to analyze what the risk is. An asset management company is very different than
a bank. Analyze what the risk is if you're not actually doing the investigation through FSOC?
Well, FSOC has undertaken such work in the past, and as I said, when it looked at asset managers, it issued a report outlining what it saw as some of the most significant risks from those industries. So I appreciate that they've done this in the past. Are you continuing that investigation now? Well, I'm just beginning a work program with FSOC, and certainly risk from asset management will be on the list.
I understand that when the stock market is going up, it is easy to ignore risks that can be building up in the system. That was the mindset of the regulators that led up to the 2008 crash, and that is how taxpayers ended up on the hook for a $700 billion
They ended up on the hook for people like you who want to deem them too big to fail.
Strong, it's the job of the regulators to take away the punch bowl.
Okay.
And you saw the title up there. It was like her interview with Janet Yellen, the chair of the Fed, I think, right now?
Yeah.
That's monetary policy. For the United States of America, they're supposed to keep inflation under 2% per year. Whoops.
Oops.
I don't know. Maybe we shouldn't put 80-year-old people in charge of stuff
Well,
anymore.
look, we screwed the pooch on inflation, but don't worry. We'll fix it by making BlackRock too big to fail.
Yeah. There you go.
No offense, but it sounds like some fucking commie gobbledygook.
Ahead of his time.
I missed that man. This is directly while talking about the Great Reset from the World Economic Forum website. There's an urgent need for global stakeholders to cooperate in simultaneously managing the direct consequences of the COVID-19 crisis to improve the state of the world. The World Economic Forum is starting the Great Reset Initiative. By the way, Great Reset in capital letters. To be clear, that means they branded it this way. And now you can be fact-checked on Facebook or Twitter or YouTube for mentioning it because they say it's a conspiracy theory.
It's from their website, people.
Well, to be clear, they might change it because that video that we showed, it was from a tweet in 2016. They deleted it.
Did they really?
They deleted it because they realized you'll own nothing, you'll rent and be happy. I guess Frank Luntz showed up in some sneakers and a toupee and said, hey, this is not resonating well.
They gave it a few years and it didn't catch.
Not playing in Middle America. No.
Thanks, Mr. Came up with the slogan for Coca-Cola. Really? I thought it was Don Draper.
Now, they opened with the smiling face that, oh, you'll be happy. You're going to like it. And then they make the case that, no, remember we told you you'd be happy.
Yeah.
Well, no. So this.
How do they think that's going to go over well? Of course they deleted it. It's like you will own nothing and you'll be happy, and then it shows a drone delivering a package.
Yeah.
And everyone is sitting here going, "This is Minority Report," and they're going, "Isn't this great?" They show little spiders crawling up, and you're sinking into the bathtub. That oracle. They're like, huh?
Well, Stephen, every time it's been tried, it's worked. I mean, the government being in control of things, they just are more efficient.
Yes.
I mean, you'll have lots of cheese and no razors, or vice versa. Or, like in America, no toilet paper for some unknown reason, you freaking hoarders.
Yeah.
What, have you never heard of a bidet?
Well, I have a dog, Betty, who eats toilet paper. So
well, that's true.
I'm responsible.
We did that.
It's like it was with Betty during the pandemic, the panic buying. It was like living with a baby in the attic in the Holocaust.
Yeah.
You're just like, I love this baby, but she's gonna kill us all. So
she just eats all the toilet paper.
All the toilet paper.
Well,
by the way, she can never be in the studio. Half the camera equipment would be destroyed.
Oh, yeah, no, she doesn't
just
care.
to be clear.
Yeah,
Joe Louis is mellow as it gets.
He'll run over chairs going after the ball, and we're just like, it sounded like it hurt. That chair's like 30 pounds.
Gosh,
She'd be after every wire in here.
Oh,
It's like getting a squirrel into the hood of your car.
How'd you build a rat's nest? I don't know. I am what I am. All right. And by the way, smash that Rumble button. Those of you, especially people who are on YouTube, come here, smash the Rumble button. Show Rumble that you love them. Look, people out there who say, conservatives need to start their own YouTube. That's not possible. That's not possible because of government intervention, right? But what you can do is you can still use YouTube and also use alternatives, and that's what we do.
Yeah.
Mug Club is what allows us to stay in business. I encourage you to join. But as far as the free show, which will always be available Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern. If you miss it, you can always come to Rumble or, of course, always at Mug Club.
I wish people would stop saying that. We don't want a conservative YouTube.
No.
We'd want a free one. That's
Yeah,
all.
you just want a free one,
we're
and people can
hypocrites.
choose.
We're hypocrites if it's not free.
Right. Yeah, exactly. We need a conservative.
We want an echo chamber. What?
No.
No.
You just want a place where people won't be banned, for
That's all.
quoting the CDC.
I don't know, free speech. It's almost like there's a country that has this as a founding principle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I can't think of it, but it'll come to me.
No, you're thinking of science fiction. It was, what was the name of that planet?
L. Ron Hubbard stuff.
What was the name of it there, Quarterback? You're a nerd.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
All right. I think it was Voltron. I have no idea.
Voltron?
I don't know. I don't know anything.
Transformers.
I don't know anything about
Transformers quote.
sci-fi.
He did it. He did it.
I watched Dune and I fell asleep. It was visually beautiful.
Oh, was it?
It's great.
Visually stunning.
For people who watched Dune, you guys can let me know, comment below. It was just really tough for me to watch in that oil bath, that gross, fat Harvey Weinstein-looking character.
Kill everybody.
He's like, kill everybody. Do you want to watch me shower?
Was it Bernie?
I'd rather not.
Yeah, sure. Hey, do you notice that fern over there?
Wow, no.
Oh, it's Weinstein.
Again.
Oh, he just spent an hour in the makeup chair, and now he's the master of Planet Dune. I don't know.
Arrakis.
Arrakis.
Oh,
yeah.
Lord.
Oh, they're
come
so
on.
creative with their naming.
Yeah.
What? I don't know. This strip's going out. I know it's based on a novel. This novel's going out. We don't have a name for the planet. What do we do? I don't know. Iraq, us. Add us. Iraq, us. Brilliant.
us.
All right.
Genius.
What kind of budget do we need? $200 million.
Oh, pocket change.
Part 1.
Make sure it's friendly for Chinese audience.
Just ask John Carter. Okay. So
Underrated film. I like that.
Biden's no.
Too soon,
Hey, come on.
Steven. Too soon.
Let's go to this is something not a lot of people have covered, and I think this might even be new for you guys.
Yeah.
This was something that I'd read about, and I said, I'm remembering this as far as it relates to suburban zoning, and it was particularly important because you can look at what Joe Biden said and what Donald Trump said. In contrast to this, and of course the media tried to turn it into a racial thing, in people being protective of their suburbs not being burned down to the ground. Notice the rioters and looters didn't make it out to the suburbs very often.
No, they were curtailed a little bit more out in the suburbs too.
Because they were going to meet the wall.
Yes.
Okay, so Biden has made fair housing really a crux of his campaign and presidency. So hear it from him first.
We'll also build 1.5 million new energy-efficient homes and public housing units that will benefit our communities in 3 times over by eliminating the affordable housing crisis, by increasing energy efficiency, and by reducing the racial wealth gap linked to home ownership. I'm not promising we can end it tomorrow, but I promise you we're going to continue to make progress to eliminate systemic racism, and every branch of the White House and the federal government.
The real one or your fake White House?
Effort. This first executive order is a memorandum for the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development to redress our nation's and the federal government's history of discriminatory housing practices and policies. I have to get to work on the next critical piece of my agenda, my Build Back Better plan, making housing more affordable. It's so unaffordable to so many Americans. Providing clean energy tax cuts, including homeowners.
Okay, just to be clear, by the way, let's contrast with, I know there's Make America Great Again, but contrast the Build Back Better, how broad it is, by closing the, racial wealth gap and supporting green energies.
Yeah.
How are you going to do that? Through Build Back Better? Look, wherever you line up, let's contrast that. It's like, okay, Biden, how are you going to do it? Build Back Better. Donald Trump, how are you going to do it? Build the wall. Clear enough? You got it, Stephanopoulos, okay? Can you get that through your pretty pink panty mask?
Well, and
build the wall. Let me subtitle to stop Mexicans. Got it?
These people have no idea how an economy works. They have no idea.
None whatsoever.
And it's evil to suggest there's systemic racism. And he knows that's not true.
Right.
I mean, even the Civil Rights Act, his party voted against in the 60s.
Longest filibusters in history.
I mean, come on.
Right. And Donald Trump's other solution was build the wall, build the best economy that we possibly can so that people can afford.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question. You're going to build this public housing, right? Okay, fine. Who's going to pay for that?
Well,
all of us. Okay, by the way, tell me this. You're saying the wealth gap is going to be affected by this because home ownership is how a lot of people... Yeah.
Yes.
What was the last time you saw a public housing project go, oh, this is great area. I'm going to move my family into this area and buy project
housing?
It
created a lot of great rappers.
Well, that's true.
That's true.
But
that is true.
that's, that's a fair point.
Silver lining. Also, Silver Lining wasn't the best rapper.
No.
Part of it was the name, but there were some others. So he's going to do this this is the term, and I want you to do some research on this. All references are available at louderwithcrowder.com. It's Obama's policy. It was called Affirmatively Furthering Fair Housing Agreement. That's the name of the agreement, and you guys can type that in and research it a little bit more. Affirmatively Furthering Fair Housing Agreement. I have to look down and read it because it's so stupid. It doesn't mean anything. Yeah. It's like you just had a jumble of buzzwords. You just had a bunch of pieces on the board and you just mix them together like Affirmative Furthering Fair Housing Agreement. Good enough for me. All right, a few $1 billion.
Here's the problem: you're not reading it in the Obama voice with the thumb.
All right. Now the Affirmatively Furthering Fair Housing Agreement. Now what that means is we're gonna fuck you.
Now it makes sense.
It's so clear.
No, wait a minute. Don't get all wee-weed up.
Best thing he ever did.
Yeah. Let's contrast that, by the way, with how Donald Trump spoke about the suburbs and your right to choose your own housing.
I'm the one that got them to stop building horrible, low-income housing that was going to destroy the suburbs. I got rid of the regulation from Obama-Biden that was destroying suburbia, okay? Destroying it. And I think suburbia has got to wake up because if they get in, you know who's in charge? You know who's in charge of the program? Cory Booker. Cory Booker. If you elected this guy, the suburbs would be overwhelmed with violence and crime. So that's where we are.
And just to be clear, thanks for letting me know the clip was going back. I'm looking down at it,
man.
Let's look at my wonderful double chin.
Don't look at that.
So the rule, I look like the Harvey Weinstein character in Dune.
The Baron.
Watch me get in the hot tub. Movie. I'll levitate to it.
That's Dune. Dune is naked white penis and fat Jason Momoa and Mongolian throat singing. It's like, this is the entire film. That's beautiful. Is that Jason Momoa? He looks a little heavy.
Is that how they communicate? What the hell?
No, it's a song. What are you talking about?
We should start a band.
Theme.
Yeah, start a band. We'll call it New Mongolian Throat Hardcore. No, listen to me. I've been listening to Mongolian throat singing since back in my days of Indonesia when I went there and was looking for I didn't find my father. I found my brother. I abandoned the bitch.
That's what I'm trying to say.
I left his sorry ass over there and I came back. No idea how I got into Occidental. I'm not gonna. My records are sealed. Now, wait a minute. Don't get all wee-weed up. Columbia, Harvard, never published in my motherfucking life at Harvard. And the Harvard Law Review, only guy who was never published. Head of it. Okay.
Guy.
So, let me be really clear. Sorry, I got off on a rabbit trail.
What are we doing?
Good one. I don't know.
This is, they want to frame it as a racial thing. Because they see everyone through the category, the prism of race, sex, right? That's intersectionality. I want to be really clear. Let's just look at the numbers when we're talking about subsidized housing, project housing, because of course, anyone can take advantage of it.
Yeah.
And then we'll get to why the left has tried to basically turn brother against brother as long as our skin color is different. So let's look at this. Again, the term is Affirmatively Furthering Fair Housing Agreement. The rule would federalize all suburban zoning regulations, forcing them to add mass transit, control location, expand social services and school zones, build bigger water and sewer lines, force suburbs to scrap their zoning. And look, they're not going to come out and just say, like, by the way, hey, this is also, we're going to put in government project housing.
Yeah.
But handling the local zoning powers, this gives it to the Fed.
Yeah.
Right? This gives control to the federal government. And to be clear, they would actually force the local government to comply with the federal government, or otherwise they would withhold money.
Now,
I know what you're saying. Why do they need any public money at all? Well, because all of the other cities are getting it. That's the issue. It's not a free market at this point. It's not a free market if you say, okay, we're taking taxpayer dollars, we're giving them to all these municipalities, but now we're just not going to give it to you. That's, of course, unfair.
Right. And it's not like the federal government is just coming up with this money out of nowhere. They're giving you your money back.
Right.
That is it. If basically,
but in this case,
said,
the
no,
money that would go back to some things that most people would think,
Right.
like building highways, they'll withhold it unless you say, you also say, oh, we're also going to build a public train, public busing, and public housing. They go, okay, well, then no highway money.
Right.
Yeah, transfer payments or what I would call extortion.
Yes.
Extortion. Because they want every.
No, don't get all wee-weed up with your words like extortion.
I am wee-weed.
They want they want every single city in America to look like they're, utopias.
Yeah.
Let me just name them really quickly: Detroit, Chicago, San Francisco, Los
Cleveland,
Angeles,
Pittsburgh.
I'll get a little
Buffalo.
closer to home in Texas because everybody thinks, Texas is a red state. If Texas only voted based on the major cities, it would not be a red state.
That's right.
Dallas County, the city of Dallas, Houston, San Antonio. And I wouldn't really include Austin yet, but it's trending that way.
Sounds to me like you're describing the party in the USA.
No, I'm describing hell in the USA.
Could you add Flint? I'm proud to have been voted in by Flint.
Everybody drinks my water.
Yeah.
It's brown.
So the HUD, Housing and Urban Development. Oh, I don't give a shit. You know what HUD means. HUD
Used to be run by the great Ben Carson.
Yes.
It did, yes.
Yeah.
He did better.
An Urban Institute, the study found that, let's talk about public housing, okay? Let's just look at the crime. There's a reason that people in the suburbs don't want, for example, in your neighborhood. And this is one thing, too, Hollywood just always... I started watching the series You on Netflix. I get like the third season, and I just couldn't handle it. The first season was kind of... It was like a psycho stalker, but now they're in the suburbs, and this is always what they do in the films, right? They always go, getting married, kiss your life away. Oh, having kids, kiss your life away. Oh, suburbia, white picket fence hell. When the truth is, people are happier there. It's like Hollywood has an actual agenda to deprogram you from getting married and having children and moving out of the big cities.
Oh.
Let me tell you something. Getting married improves your life. Let me tell you something. Having kids improves your life. The responsibilities, but don't. And I always hated it, and I was terrified to have kids for a long time because I worked so hard in the show. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to have time.
Yeah.
It's bullshit. Don't buy it. Don't believe it.
Yeah.
Don't allow it to scare you. Let's be clear about that. So there's a reason that Americans are pretty protective of their suburbs and don't want to, let's say, in a suburb where they've, of course, gotten out of Detroit, gotten out of Los Angeles, don't want the exact same kind of Section 8 housing just plopped right in the middle of their suburban town. Here's why. It's not because of race. Suburbs are actually becoming more blended. People need to know that.
Yeah.
More diverse. No one has a problem with that. People have a problem with crime. Okay, so let's look at this is people who used public housing relocation vouchers. And this is from the study. We have the source available at louderwithcrowder.com.
Yeah.
Let's look at perpetrators and victims. So you understand the criminals and the criminalized, if that's the right term.
Yeah.
Okay. The criminals are they're 2.4 times more likely to be arrested for a property crime in public housing. 2.5 times more likely to be arrested for a violent crime. It's 250% more likely for someone to be arrested for a violent crime if they live in this kind of housing. Now, what if you're a person who's not a criminal? You are 1.1 times more likely to be the victim of a property crime. 110% higher likelihood you get robbed. You are 180%, 1.8 times more likely to be the victim of an actual violent crime in one of these houses. So, hey, hashtag protect all women.
Not so much.
We don't have the numbers on how many of these are rapes. I'm betting a lot. This is the reason that people don't want the government to be able to force this into areas that were established precisely because they were fleeing this. They said, all right, we're living in Detroit. You know what? It's getting violent. I don't know. The violent crime has gone up 180%. For me, I kind of said I'm checking out at 120. That was my threshold. And now you're saying, no, we're going to bring it to you.
Right.
Because if not, you're racist.
And every single parent in America, you're a parent now, right? One of the first things that you start thinking of is my neighborhood safe for my kids?
Yeah.
Can they go outside and not be a victim of some crime, not be bullied, not be beaten up? And how can I get them to a place? And that doesn't mean white.
Yeah.
It just means safe.
And by the way, that was just Chicago.
Yeah.
Just to be clear. Well, you know,
just
or
Chicago.
murder capital, something.
Well, you know.
Have they taken the lead over Detroit?
I don't know exactly. I think Detroit
just sheer numbers.
Detroit is running out of people to kill.
That's right.
It's like a bad virus. It's just killing all the hosts.
That's like the Walgreens shelves. It's just empty.
Yeah. Well,
there's no one left to kill.
hard to kill people.
So there was a Texas A&M study on Section 8 housing, the voucher relocations. They found that in Houston, there was a 95% increase in the probability of being arrested for a violent crime. This happens everywhere that it occurs. Researchers hypothesize in this that the higher rate was due to increased, I quote, increased funds and leisure time. We attribute this increase to additional funds and leisure time available to voucher recipients that can be used to commit crimes. What does this mean? Okay, let me be really clear. That means we attribute this to people without jobs, too much time on their hands, and government money. Oh! Kind of like the pandemic. It almost exactly mirrored that nationally, where we saw a surge in violent crime everywhere because turns out when people are perpetually unemployed due to government policies and you say, don't worry, we'll hand you the bare minimum, right? We'll give you the unemployment benefits. Guess what happens? People become unruly. Who's ever been in a Big Brother program? Who's ever actually worked with troubled youth? The first thing that they teach you when coaching these kids is that having too much spare time causes problems.
Well, and the left knows this. I just thought about this. Every time we talk about a foreign country like Mexico, right, one of the biggest arguments from the left is if we just give people in Mexico jobs, they'll stop coming here.
Right.
They'll stop committing crimes in their country. They'll stop trying to come to our country and commit crimes. I'm like, oh, so you mean if people have jobs and the economy is doing well, they can take care of themselves?
Right.
So you're basically a fan of Donald Trump? Is that what I'm hearing?
That's almost what you're hearing.
I think that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, it's
that's Kamala's root cause. She said she was going to get to the root causes of why.
And to be clear, too, from Detroit, people always talk about white flight with Detroit. Before, I want to go to you on that because Detroit is an important example because people don't understand that it stems directly from government intervention and, of course, stoking the fires of racism, as they're doing right now. An HUD Urban Institute study found that in Denver, the public housing site in the highest value, overwhelmingly white preoccupied neighborhood apparently had a net negative effect on house prices, as did another poorly maintained site in the modestly valued high-density core segment neighborhood having 24%. So they found, too, this was another study in Portland, that home values went up the furthest you got away from public housing.
It's almost like there's a correlation.
Hey, by the way, guess what? You can get further away from public housing if you're white, black, brown, yellow. It doesn't matter.
Oh, yes.
It doesn't matter. Guess what? You're welcome as long as you don't commit crimes.
Well, so that black family that worked their way up, moved out to the suburbs, trying to pass on generational wealth. And they're like, hey, we're going to plop this down right next to you over here, and it's going to decrease your – oh, well, so all of that work.
They don't want
that.
Dang
it.
Yeah.
Nobody – look, it's not like we're saying, oh, people that are just, destitute, they don't need a helping hand by the local community, right? I believe in charity. I believe that people should get involved in their local community and help. We're just saying that the federal government is not in charge of mandating how this works because they screw everything up. Right. And they have an agenda. Read this as power. Just like everything that you've said about the money, this is power over places that typically they can't control, the suburbs, that are typically run by conservative Republicans. We want power of you. So
not so much anymore. The suburbs are actually, what's funny is the suburban sort of became strongholds for Biden, and then it was more rural areas and also some urban sort of working class people who were going for Trump. The demographics changed, particularly the Latino vote. Democrats were taking it for granted, and this is where I get off the bus with a lot of racial identitarian politics. Like, look. Politics change. People are not a fixed demographic. One generation changes, and Democrats want to make sure they have a stranglehold and change it for the better. With Latinos, it's changing against Democrats for the worse. With blacks, it's trending against Democrats for the worse. Yeah. Let's be really, really clear about that. And it doesn't mean that it's a majority, but it's a lot. And when you pull on individual issues, it is a majority of these folks. They don't want to be in neighborhoods that are now crime-ridden because the government has said, no, we've decided that this is really what should be going on here. I know you guys went to the suburbs because you wanted to be safe, and you didn't. Property values are ancillary. It's about keeping your kids safe.
Yeah. Well, they had 8 years of Barack Obama telling them that they were victims and couldn't do it, and here's some money. And then they had this glimmer of hope where somebody came in and said, I think you can do it. I think you can go get a job. I think you can better yourself and your family and generationally change the trajectory of
lives. Ben Carson. So he said, well, I think you can. I think you can.
They had to turn like the volume way up so they could hear him. Yeah. But
I tried to set you up for the Ben Carson earlier. You didn't bite.
I believe that Section 8 housing has been a failure, and people saying that there's no class mobility. I think you can. I think you can. Man, I will make sure he's not my alarm in the morning. Just
no, you'll never hear him.
Through that.
He'll just be like,
"Hey, Steven,
wake up!
Wake up! It's time for you to get up.
Wake up, Steven."
We should have him on to talk about this. It'd be great. I mean,
for a 9-hour segment.
Yes.
You're from Detroit. And people always use that as an example of white flight. You lived in Detroit proper, not Plymouth.
No.
Not outside. You lived in the area that Eminem kind of wanted to claim he was from. What happened there? I've explained this before. A Model Cities program that started under Lyndon Johnson, Jerome Kavanaugh. Obviously, this is where they said, keep in mind, Detroit was the wealthiest city, at least in the country, if I'm wrong about it, the world.
One of the best in the world.
Yeah.
In the 50s. It was considered the Paris of the Midwest. So the plan was, and this is a perfect example here, the plan from the government was we need to show, proof of concept to America of the Model Cities program, right? We need to be able to take credit for a successful city. So let's find the already successful city on the upswing, inject a few $1 million. I don't know what the number was. Maybe it was a few billion. I have no idea. Inflation really doesn't mean anything anymore. And they said, and then as it continues to do well, we'll take credit. And it tanked it. There was a city doing really, really well.
Yeah.
Model cities. They decided now we're going to do this the first centralized urban planning experiment was Detroit, and it destroyed the wealthiest city in the country. To be clear, it wasn't capitalism run amok, and you were born and raised there.
It was marrying women to the government.
Yeah.
And taking a population that had high fatherhood rates.
Yeah. Black Detroit population.
87% fatherlessness. But I don't think white flight was ever really about race. I mean, they're always racist. There'll always be racist. It's just the nature. It was about property values going down. Well, would they go down? Yeah, and they did. It was about crime going up. Well, what happened? Crime went up. It was a cultural thing that really changed. People got out of town because they knew these things were going to happen.
And a big part of that was the crime was government project housing, or people were saying, "Oh, I don't have to pay, and now I have some, and I don't have to work." This happened in Detroit. Happened, by the way, with white people in Detroit as well. I mean, Eminem was in a trailer park outside of Detroit. But sorry, continue.
I remember going there with you. We were doing the Fox News thing for the Detroit in Ruins, that video.
No, it was PJTV.
Okay. And we were outside of the house I grew up in.
2009, I believe. Yeah.
And you asked me, you said, Dad, when you were a kid, did this place look like this? I mean, boards on the windows and B&E screens and the neighbors torn down.
Your old house, to be clear, sold for $7,000.
Yeah, a couple of years ago. The other homes in the street are free. You can have them for squatters' rights.
Yeah. And so just to be clear, let me set it up. I'm looking at this. I'm seeing this home. Windows kicked in, boarded up, and then an abandoned building. This is where my dad was raised, in a little sort of what you call, not quite cul-de-sac, but kind of a little...
3 homes in the street.
Like an L, an L street. And I'm looking, and basically there's no one here. It's terrifying. And that's where I said, what was it like when you were raised here? Yeah.
Well, it was an immigrant street where everyone knew everybody. They had, and you'll know this as a golfer, Gerald, bent grass.
Oh.
You know what it takes to maintain bent grass?
A lot of work.
Get off my lawn, kid.
Takes an old
Beautifully
Polish gentleman.
maintained. Yes Mr. Omer. He was German. And these people were proud of those places. They kept them meticulously.
Yeah.
And I remember you said to me, well, forget race, forget economics. Why don't these people just take care of their stuff? And there's this entitlement mentality that house wasn't enough. It was enough for those people. They raised gobs of kids in a 1,500 square foot house where they would finish out the attic, and that would be a barracks up there for bunk beds. But it's not enough. And so these people don't take care of them. It's a cultural thing. It's not a racial thing.
No, it's a cultural thing, and it's really more of an urban. And when I say this is the problem with language. They go, urban, do you mean black? No, I mean urban. Statistically, we mean it's an urban cultural problem, and a big part of that is because the government centralized control and idle hands with money from the government. Of course, there were black people in Detroit. There, it was. You know, want to know? And I want to go to your point. Want to know the term 8 Mile? Why people started hitting 8 Mile? Hey. Who was the mayor, and what's his exact quote, Darren, in Detroit?
Coleman Young. He said, all you thugs hit 8 Mile Road, meaning that's the border, get out of town.
Yeah.
But you mentioned the projects giving rise to rappers and these kind of, the Brewster projects in Detroit, Diana Ross and the Supremes, I think Smokey Robinson. One group of government housing bred incredible Motown talent out of one area.
Well, I think it's that pressure creates a diamond. You have it with rock music.
Highest
you have
level
it with
people.
Motown. You have it with R&B. You have it with a lot of comedians.
The way out.
It's just it is a way out.
You know what? It's not sports. It's artistry, right? And it just created incredible talent. Detroit was it. I mean, but everyone left, never came back.
Right. Yeah. Well, there's two things that I wanted to mention. One is it's an ownership issue.
Yes.
Right? Those people that
you
own
will
the
own
houses,
nothing and like it, to be clear. That's a part of this great reset.
And when you own nothing, you don't care for it.
That's right.
That's
so
absolutely right.
take people and put them in a house that they don't own. Go on vacation and do a VRBO. Are you taking care of it quite like you may not trash the place, but are you taking care of it like you would take care of your own house? No, it's not.
That's
your
why
own
you
house.
have a security deposit and insurance when you Airbnb a place.
Right, exactly. So here's the next part of that.
I know I Airbnb a place, and I came back and went, why'd you shit on the floor?
Yeah.
There's a toilet right there.
At Shop, didn't we do some graffiti over in?
Well, but it's San Francisco. You do when in Rome in San Francisco. You take a dump.
No, good point. It's ownership.
Ownership issue, and then the second thing is with what they called white flight. Whatever it is, people leaving downtown areas because they were like, oh my gosh, the urban areas are not safe. I don't want to be here. I'm moving out. That craters the prices. And so you have people coming in now that can afford, oh, well, hey, I can afford to live here, but I can barely afford to live here, right? I've got to have government support to be able to live here. Have those been the places where the economy has just come roaring back? Have those places just naturally brought themselves up by the bootstraps? No, they've stayed really terrible and gotten worse over time. So now what you're trying to do is export that to the places that have gotten better. You're saying this model has worked so well, we're going to take it out into the suburbs and see if it can infect the rest of the world. I don't want that in suburbs. I don't want it because it's not a race thing. It's not a culture, an issue, anything like that.
No.
It's that it hasn't ever worked.
It's an owner.
It will not solve the
ownership
problem.
thing, and that is a huge reason. Guess who will probably be in bed with the government? Not probably, will be BlackRock.
Yes,
BlackRock.
But more broadly, today, how's that look? They're calling it right flight, where people are leaving left states and going to states that have figured it out. They've got something good. And so it's the same thing as the white flight that they coined for the cities. They're leaving those environments that have been run into the ground by Democrats.
And there's cheap housing everywhere. You just may not be able to live in the place that you want to live.
Right.
You can go and buy a cheap house somewhere. Trust me, you can't live in Connecticut.
Well, you won't be able to do that soon. That's the problem. There will be no affordable housing with BlackRock, who, by the way, the government deems too big to fail. Right. And let's create Section 8 project housing. There you go.
We'll take care of you.
Is it Section 8?
It's Section 8. Yeah.
Section 8, yeah.
And you can't have a gun in your Section 8 project housing.
No?
Who wants to get raped up in Section 8? Is that all you get for your money? I'm moving out. Ba, 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 ba. You know what? And this is the remix. Wow, wow, wow. Moving out. Ba, 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 ba.
I thought you were going to go with hide your kids, hide your wife. Yeah. They raping up everybody.
I'm going to guess that there are a lot of weapons in the Section 8 housing.
Oh, but they're
throw it out.
Yeah,
standard issue.
Not registered.
Okay.
Except for when I visit these hands.
Right. Oh. Here's your keys. Here's your bulletproof vest. I would go in diagonals, never straight lines. Don't be in
zigzag.
That's a target.
Here's the thing, too, is they say it's a race thing. I don't want anyone to be sentenced to Section 8 housing.
No.
That's right.
That's why I don't want anyone to be happy with not only not owning, renting, but not even aspiring to own. I don't want anyone to live that kind of bleakness. Genuinely, I really don't want. I don't want any kid to. And I just. This is one thing I've talked with quarterback Garrett about. Because talked with his family members and people, and he does come from. People don't realize his black family.
Yeah.
That's something when people talk about white privilege. I don't mean white privilege. Look, I was born in Detroit. Okay, I was born in Grosse Pointe, raised, and my dad was real Detroit. Just want to be clear. I was raised with my family, my brother, in a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment. So, but I was very, very grateful for it. I never really thought of other people who had houses at that point. We rented, and we lived in Montreal. And this is a very sort of European mindset. But the white privilege, okay, sure, I think privilege is I have 2 parents who cared about me. But when I talk about, I do think there is a racial gap that makes me feel for young black children. And it's not systemic racism because individual racists hate them. I know that as a white person, I don't have this expectation of people saying, hey, if you aspire to something, you're not white enough.
Yeah.
Hey, you listen to Coheed and Camp, you listen to Elliott Smith, you're not white enough. But if you're a black kid, you do have that. You do have an expectation, not from white people, but from black people to perpetuate a stereotype. And I've seen it where it's like, oh, you think you're you think you're special? You want to get out when the projects aren't good enough? And I'm not just, look, watch every film that you see right now that's directed towards black people. And I go, I don't want anybody relegated to that kind of hopelessness.
Watch how they treat Larry Elder.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Prominent black figures that come out and tell you that
Call
you
him
can
a white
do it.
supremacist.
Yeah. the blackface of white supremacy. It's pulling people back down into the mire with them and saying, I don't want you to get out because I can't get out. Because then if you can, now it's on me. It's not the system because you beat the system and you're not better than me. It's just me being...
The only blackface of white supremacy is Michael Jackson, and that's a physical thing.
That's just
maybe Mickey Mouse.
He was just really appealing across all races.
That's the whole thing. He appealed across, hey, Section 8. I love Section 8 and have a $2 billion house. Don't go in the dungeons and touch the monkeys. He'll rip your face off. Yeah, rip your face off. Now. He had the monkey Bubbles, knew it was ripping off faces, and kept it. He thought a verbal warning was enough. For crying out loud, even refs in soccer give you a yellow card.
Right? Yeah. Put him in timeout.
Oh, now, Bubbles, don't be ripping off any more faces. Okay, here's some Jesus juice. I'm going back in. Setting up more security cameras. Good.
No more cameras.
Why are they all in bathrooms, Michael?
Yeah.
That's weird. Yeah.
No, I have all the tripwires, but I'm just a fan of Home Alone. Macaulay Culkin, we're tight.
yeah.
No, that's why your house is like That's why it is like Home Alone, where any parent who comes in gets a tool chest in the face.
A swinging paint can coming down the staircase.
It's fun.
That's
Hey, Corey, do you wanna put down the micro machines by the staircase? It'll be funny. The parents will step on the micro machines and never hear from them again.
turns around. Michael, why are you naked?
What? How'd that happen?
Allegedly.
Hey, I like that.
Yeah, I can.
So what's the end result of all of this, right? Like Gerald said, you will own nothing, you will like it. Hey, let's basically just get us close of starting a race war. Let's blame all of this on race, right? That's what Democrats want. Let's make sure that people divide themselves by race, divide themselves by gender. And you know what? Let's make sure that people are scared, dependent on the government, having to pay more for their goods, but it's okay because we give them all of the bare necessities, right? They're like Baloo. If Baloo was allowed to insider trade.
Well, that's
and octuple his net worth in about 4 months. And what does it lead to? Well, it leads to, and this is an area where we have two sides of America watching the same thing, having two different reactions. When the violence does reach the suburbs, you end up with people who want to defend themselves, which is a part of your God-given right.
Yeah.
And what happens? They're put on trial and charged for simply defending their own property. Remember the McCloskeys that happened in Missouri? Here you go.
Tonight, the couple seen in this now viral video is detailing what they say was strictly self-defense. Mark McCloskey and his wife stood on their patio Sunday night, pointing guns at a crowd of protesters.
I was terrified that we'd be murdered within seconds, that our house would be burned down, that our pets would be killed.
Well, where do you get that crazy idea? Let me ask you this. I'll leave you with this, and I want you to smash that Rumble button. You guys can comment. You know what? This is a perfect example. Because they say it's race. Okay. Chaz. Pretty white area, just to be clear.
Yeah, you can say.
There, statistically, businesses have closed down and people have been moving away from that area. Okay? That's been happening because of Chaz and Chop. Think the people moving away, think they're doing it because they're racist? Your answer determines whether you vote R or D. All right, this is where we would tell YouTube to piss off, but it's Rumble, so we thank you, but we'll still, in spirit, YouTube, piss off.